Meeting to order. Get started. I don't break my microphone. First item on the agenda is the public forum. If anyone present would like to share anything, you're welcome to do that. Can you hear me okay? So the public forum is just for anyone to share? Okay. Next item on our agenda is approving the September 11th meeting minutes that were emailed to everybody. And so hopefully if you had a chance to look over them, they look good. We just need a motion to approve.
I will motion to approve minutes as they read.
Thank you. And then a second.
I can second that, I guess.
Sounds good. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. All right. And then the bulk of our meeting today is the small special project grant hearings for spring 2023, which is, I'm sure, why all of you are here. So we will just go in order on our list. So first we have the Ames chapter of the Des Moines Metro Opera Guild for their children's opera, Beauty and the Beast.
I guess that would be me.
That would be you. Welcome.
Yeah.
So if you can just tell us just briefly about your application, and especially if there's anything additional to add outside of that. And then if any of the board members have questions, we'll just ask.
Okay. I'm Bern Ketchum. My wife and I are recently minted co-presidents of the Des Moines Metro Opera Guild here in Ames. And we moved to Northcrest here in 20 and joined the Ames chapter. And we're delighted to have found a group that was devoted to the appreciation and promotion of opera. Now, last year we were excited to see Sid the Serpent, Sid the Serpent who wanted to sing, and the children's opera at the library. It was wonderful to see the expressions on the kids' faces. We appreciated that Commission on the Arts supported Sid the Serpent with a grant last year and has supported others in the past, including Cinderella, I believe. And we hope that you can help us bring Beauty and the Beast this year. Next spring, rather. This grant would allow the Ames Guild and the library to offer free tickets to the performance to the Ames children and families, creating opportunities for young people to experience professional opera, a production in their hometown. So why are we interested? Our exposure to opera when we were kids was seeing and hearing singers like Risa Stevenson on Ed Sullivan and background music in Bugs Bunny cartoons. As young adults, we began to listen to the New York Met on Saturday afternoons. So we know and understood that opera needs to be seen as well as heard to be understood. And we wish we'd had earlier exposure. That's why we encourage introducing opera to young people through the children's operas to help them understand it or begin to understand it. And the DMMO Guild Ames chapter seeks funding from CODA to cover the Opera Iowa's fee of $1,595 for 7 artists, 2 full-time staff members, transportation and lodging and food and set construction. I don't know what all. For this next spring's opera production of Beauty and the Beast. The Ames chapter is committed to providing the piano, which is, I think, about $500, and refreshments. And that's about all I have to say, unless you have a question that I know the answer to.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No.
I did have one quick question. Just because we did recommend a $1,000 asking amount for the spring special project grants, and so you're asking for above that. And so I'm wondering, with your partnership with the library, if they have any funding for supporting the program as well?
Do they have any funding from where?
From the public library, since they're partnering?
I think they're hoping for the grant to cover most of it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know whether they have any funds for that, actually.
Okay. I was just asking because I'm just looking at the amount of funds that were requested for the special projects and the amount we have to allocate. And so I guess my question is more around if we were not able to give you the entire $1,595, would the program still be feasible?
I hope so. We would have to start scratching around to find money, but
Okay.
we would sure try.
Okay.
But of course, the more you can give, the easier it is for us.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Up next is Creative Artist Studio of Ames.
Yes, well, our project definitely fits the something came up in a hurry category. September 11th, we found out space was opening up in the building where we operate, and we moved in September 30th. And that took unanimous support from our board of trustees and several votes, and a lot of enthusiasm in the organization for adding the new space. And then I discovered the CODA special projects deadline like 2 days before it was due. And so maybe I didn't read it carefully enough because I do not remember seeing the $1,000 limit. We can talk. Creative Artist Studios of Ames has been in operation since 01/01/01. And I was one of the founding members and helped design the business system that made it work. And I'm in charge of this project, and I'm confident it will also work. We will make it happen one way or another. The question is how fast we can get it going and how deep a hole it will dig into our reserves to get it up and running. There are things we can offer to fiber artists. What we're proposing is a fiber arts node. There are things we can offer to fiber artists that's hard for them to do at home. Design walls, big walls that you can put things on. Big tables, especially tables that can be adjusted to standing height. A gallery to display work. Space to have a workshop or a retreat. These are things that people, and then we also have in our existing facilities space where we can safely work with dye. And the professional level dyes are very hard to do at home. So you end up using less effective dyes. And several people have already asked about that aspect of it. So there's something we have ready to offer the community, I think. And there is a lot of interest in community. Just look around. We've got 3 fabric stores in Ames and a couple of yarn places. So the community is out there. I made a note about this on a Facebook page that the Quilters Guild has and immediately got invited to come and tell them all about it. And that's quite a group. There are 60 people and 40 of them show up for meetings. So it's, it's a community. So we think we're doing something that was really going to enhance the community, really add something important and new. And what we're looking for is a little help to get it off the ground. We've made the commitment for the money to pay the rent. If we can free a little of that up, we can get more things going. So that's the basics.
Thank you.
Questions? I also brought Greg Lamont, our current president, is also here. In case, in the unlikely case I can't answer a question, he will.
Thank you. What questions do you have?
So you're relatively new, starting up. Did you know about CODA before? I know you said that you just stumbled into the special.
Well, I knew about CODA. I think 22 years ago, we asked for a startup thing to help with CASA.
Okay.
And that was also a one-time, we could use a little help getting going, and people said yes, but I didn't have the deadline in my head.
Sure.
It was just that after we got this and I started thinking about it, I said, I wonder when the next deadline is. Oh, wait, just the day after tomorrow. So,
Well, I'm wondering, and I'll defer, if this might work potentially as an annual, or would that not qualify?
Well, so I guess I had some questions because we do have another grant application timeline coming up. That the applications are due October 13th, and that's for annual funding starting July 1 of 2024. And so it potentially could still support this project, I think, is what David is recommending.
So when would we hear about those? If we get the application in October?
Usually about January is
Okay.
when you get
Yeah.
our recommendations. They don't get fully approved until a little bit later than that because our recommendations then go to the city council for the final approval. But in the years I've been on CODA, there's never been any alterations between our recommendations to city council and then what they end up approving. So I don't know that would be a concern, but my question I actually had kind of related is maybe directed at Brian of, because to me, some of it sounds like capital for the space, right? Like building some of those capital investments by expanding what you already have at CASA. And so we do have some restrictions on how we can support capital improvements.
Well, the CODA grant criteria lists some specific things that can't be funded, and those include capital improvements. So the request, in order for it to be considered, it would have to be couched in terms of providing for a program or a service that would be provided to users of the space and community members and so forth. So we'd have to take a look at how that's drafted specifically. I haven't read the application in detail.
So I think the way it's written now for this particular purpose is it's for kind of the rent of the space that you have, but then like building of walls and things like that I do think
Yeah, the specific request for funds is tied to the rent
Yeah.
because we're going to be running a deficit between the income
Yeah.
from the area as we build the program.
Publicity.
And then, but of course, it's clear that what happens then is it frees up some of our money so that we can get some of these other things done.
Yeah.
So whether that actually works or not for you is something I would like to know.
Yeah. Now, looking over your application, it does state that the assistance you're asking for is for first year's rent. The remainder of the cost, rent, publicity, some equipment, would come from the CASA reserves. And then the other features you state that you can provide are to establish the tables and pinnable walls and things like
Right,
that. you're
right.
saying. So it seems like the application is more geared towards, at least our portion of it would be more of
Rent.
securing the space,
Yeah.
not the hardware inside the space. Which I honestly, I know you're trying to reach out. Have you reached out to the schools at all?
Not yet. Haven't had a chance yet.
The reason I ask
Yeah.
is my daughter at the high school is actually part of the fiber club
Aha.
there. So I know at least the high school has potential people who would additionally use your space, I guess
Yeah.
you could say. So
We-
as other avenues
Right.
to,
We have thought
to
of
get
that.
people and then possibly also generate revenue,
We have,
from whatever you would,
right.
fees would be or whatever. So
We have thought about, we have a sort of long time, low level effort to establish an origami club. And this would be a perfect headquarters for that. And that is something that would reach down into the schools. Existing CASA has some trouble reaching into schools in a big way. We have high school, a lot of collaboration with high schools, but there are hazardous materials that artists work with that make the space less than ideal for smaller
Sure.
kids. But the fiber art space is separated and safe. And so we can broaden our program to reach out more for young people as well, which is another plus. I had my granddaughter in there teaching origami this weekend.
Any other thoughts or questions? Yeah, I would just, because you do have a couple more weeks to think about the annual grant application too. It is a longer grant application than this one, so would be harder to do if you just found it the day before. But I would recommend looking at that just because, again, like I said to the first people, we're pretty limited on what we have available right now for
Right.
these spring special project grants.
Fair enough.
And I would just say, especially because this doesn't seem to be tied to a particular date in the spring, that the annual grant would actually probably work for the request.
It probably would. And
Yeah.
if there's a chance that it could be more than $1,000, that's well worth our
Yeah.
wait.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, and because those grant requests vary significantly in the amount that people are asking for. So the amount you've asked for in this application would fit much better with that annual grant process.
Okay. Thank you.
And the Ames Community Arts Council just offered to help you with the application if you had any questions while
And I
doing
know
it.
them well, so we
Yeah.
will talk.
I just wanted to make sure that was on record
Yes.
since that was such a nice offer. Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Story Theater Company is up next.
Hello. Thank you for having us, and thank you for your ongoing support of the arts in Ames. We really appreciate it and are excited about the things that we're seeing go forward in all the different organizations. It's great. Our specific request for this was for Royal Academy. We came up with a spring special program. We keep trying to make adjustments and see where needs are or what people are wanting. And so this wasn't part of our annual grant. We wanted to expand school year programming, but we appreciate having assistance because sometimes we try things and they go well. And sometimes we try things and realize maybe that wasn't a need or that wasn't a good time or anything like that. So we really appreciate offering assistance on these special grants because sometimes it's a little risky trying to try new things or put a new program in. And in particular, this is targeting a little more 5 through 8 year olds. And we're kind of realizing and trying to like survey our parents and things as well, that there's just not a lot for younger kids in wanting theater opportunities in Ames. When you get into the schools and get older, there's more events, there's more programs, there's more things to be involved in. So we're trying to meet that need a little bit with this. And yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other questions? I don't want to repeat everything that's on the sheet. I know you read that.
Were there any questions for Story Theater Company?
Made pretty much sense.
Yeah, I think it was very clear.
Okay.
So I think we're good. Thank
Excited
you.
to hopefully have Royal Academy.
Yeah.
I appreciate the creative names, people.
Names are hard and like titles of things. So,
They
yeah, when you
are.
get a good one, that's
They
good.
are, and you don't want to repeat it. Sometimes
Yeah.
people want the familiarity of something repeated so they know what they're coming to, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's fun just having different themes and different things. So
For sure. All right. Thank you so much. All right. The Ames Desi Drama Association.
Hello. Hi, my
Hi.
name's Anand, and this is
And I'm Balaji.
and we are the founding members, I guess, of the Ames Desi Drama Association, or we call it ADDA internally. And we are a brand new organization for Ames. Like we were just founded this year, and our goal is to produce plays, and more importantly, produce Indian theater. And the other way we kind of differentiate ourselves, I guess, if we were to, is when comparing ourselves to Story County Theater, etc. Our place, when we produce a place, it's very specific to adults. We are not like targeting Story County Theaters focus on kids, whereas I think our niche is like focusing on adults who, in our age group, who want to act, who want to be part of plays, like who have to go around the work, etc. And of course, the niche is also Indian plays. So far, even though we were established only in 2023, we have produced 2 plays so far. One actually we produced in 2022. And one in 2023 with actors who actually came in from India. And the response has been extremely positive and encouraging. And one of the other differentiators that we have going on for us, and we haven't seen this tried in other plays specifically, is irrespective of the language that we present the play in, we have subtitles going. And that's something we have not seen in any other plays. And so that is specifically because we want others to come and watch the plays. And to be honest, we initially we had our own apprehensions on whether that would work, and it actually did, to like a tremendous amount of success. We've had a lot of people who came in from the community. For example, one of my friends, he came in for our first play, and he said, I don't understand the language. I'm just going to sit here for 5 minutes just for your sake and then leave. But he ended up sitting for the whole play, and that was not a singular case. It was like multiple people. Like we got the same reaction, and we had an audience of 250 people, all the way from Des Moines, Pella, etc. And so it's been highly encouraging, and that's what we want to do. So we want to do 1 or 2 plays from multiple. Like there's a demand for both sides, right? People like in our demographic, we want to produce plays, we want to act, we want to be creative. It's a creative outlet. It's our hobby. So there's a demand for people are within the community asking, when are you guys going to do a next play so we can act, or we can be a part of the crew. And we've also got a demand from the audience side of the house. They're like, when are you guys going to do your next play? And we've got people hitting us up from Chicago, etc. So it's good. It's a good flywheel that's going on. And so coming to this particular ask, because we were established only in 2023, we haven't done any annual quota grants yet. But this particular ask is specifically for a play that we want to produce in spring 2023. It's a comedy play, and based on our experience, we feel like for a play costs us approximately $3,500, and so based on that is what we presented this ask.
So the even though it's mostly adults who are actually in the play, as in front of the stage and behind the stage, our plays are very family friendly and they are open to all audiences. Our estimate is that between children and senior citizens, we would have more than close to 50% of our audience would come from those 2 demographics. So even though the plays themselves, probably don't feature a whole lot of kids. The audience that this is intended for is very inclusive. We've also been very fortunate to partner with a number of organizations. We've had very good discussions with Story County Theater, with actors. We also work very closely with the City of Ames Auditorium to publicize our events. And like Anand said, we're very excited about bringing another comedy. So all our offerings have been comedies, which is why we have to work extra hard on the subtitles, because translation is pretty tricky, right, for comedy. But again, we've had very good response from the audience, and we look forward to encourage, capitalize on that and keep offering more diverse types of plays that bring in new cultures to Ames. And as Anand pointed out, there is no other production company in Iowa that is producing Indian plays from India. And so we're in the happy position of advertising statewide. And as you mentioned, we also started a new partnership with a Chicago-based theater agency. So we have more access to scripts, more actors, so we can bring people in and also take our work over there someday if that works out. But we have a specific play planned, and that's what the request is for. But we're also planning to request for the standard Coda grants as well. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Question?
And before, I don't know if the question is going to come up. I did want to mention, so, we are not another India Cultural Association, and, that's a separate organization, which is also focused on Indian events. The difference is, the ICA, they focus on distribution of events, and their events are not squarely on theater. It could be like a 5K race, for example. But concert. Yeah. And they're not producing any plays. They do help bring a lot of people in, but we are squarely focused on producing plays. Like, he's been the director of in the first play, and he's acted in the second play. So that's kind of the intersection. Before that question,
we do partner with them on dissemination and getting the word out kinds of things. So we're absolutely, partnering with them and other organizations, but we're creating content. That's the difference.
I just had one question about the dates. Do you have a date scheduled for the play?
Yeah, spring before April is when. So
because it just had an end date of July 15th, and that's past this particular grant.
It'll be in April.
So I just wanted to make sure, because if allocated, you would have to expend those things before that date. So
yeah, we'll work with Craig and see when the city auditorium is available. It's pretty packed from what I understand from Craig, but yep, we'll work with him.
Can you expand a little? I know you said in there that you were hoping to get like $250 from ticket sales, but yet you had, what do you mean by the option to watch free?
So we have a pay what you want kind of option on our flyers and information. So if somebody's able to pay more than what we recommend, that's of course very welcome. But we understand that for example, we work very closely with the India Students Association, which is part of Iowa State University, and typically students are not able to maybe pay $10. So if they pay $1 or $2, we have that pay what you wish option.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Copy from Story County Theater. Those guys do the same thing.
Yeah. No, the suggested ticket price, pay what you can. No, and I totally understand. I just thank you for clarifying that a little bit. Appreciate it.
The same question.
Yeah. Okay. I think
Thanks
that's
again.
it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
So next is India Cultural Association.
Hi, my name's Robin Anand, and I'm a member of the executive committee of the India Cultural Association. I want to start off first by just thanking Commission on the Arts for all the support that's been provided to ICA over the years. I've lived in Ames since 2015, and I've not seen a community that is so active. It's really the number of things that are offered in Ames, but particularly those things I've seen offered by ICA have really impressed me, and they've been important to my family as well. So that's one reason I've decided to serve on the executive committee. Another one is that it was clear to me this year one of the goals of ICA is to broaden its reach. It's always been a goal of ICA to share the culture of India with Central Iowa. But I think we're taking new approaches to do that this year. So the event that we've proposed is really in line with that idea. So the idea is to have a 5K run that's associated with the Indian holiday of Holi, which is a harvest festival. And it's also timed with the beginning of spring, or like part of the spring starting in India. And so it's a festival of color. So there's, as part of the festival, there's this very fun event where you have colorful powders, like very vibrant colors that you throw on your friends and family, or like smear colors on each other. And so it's something that's a lot of fun to build community. There's also water play. So sometimes you also splash each other with water. And I thought that would go great with a run because on a run, you already have stations with volunteers, usually with water. There can also be opportunities then to do color play. And then for those who aren't involved in the run, there can still be that activity that they can participate in afterwards. So one of the reasons that I think, another reason I think that this would draw in a big crowd is because like a run is usually an event here in Central Iowa that attracts a lot of people who just are looking for opportunities to get together, do something healthy, be outdoors. So it's really accessible for all ages. We'll have a kids run as part of the event as well, like a fun run. And then I think in terms of Indian festivals and traditions, the Festival of Holi is also one that's easy to identify with, because if you think about how spring is celebrated all over the world, it often has to do with a lot of color and just celebrating things coming back to life. So what am I missing? Oh, we'll also take that opportunity to share Indian food, traditional Indian food, as well as music after the run for everyone to enjoy. So that is the pitch. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions? I don't
You
think
were-
I have.
Your question is, can you join?
Oh, I was already thinking about my kid and I will run.
I thought you said that in there that you were thinking of holding it in conjunction with Alluvial.
So there are several different venues that we have in mind. Since it's all the way in May, we haven't booked one yet. But that is one place that we thought would be nice, because they have like an open setup where there's some indoor space, but those big garage doors that open up to outside patios where we could maybe put a tent. And I think part of the event needs to be outdoors besides the run. So yeah.
Okay. So you're still you're finding your space.
Yes,
So,
Alluvial's up
okay.
there. I think Ames Fitness, there's also a barn. I forget the name of it, but like kind of a bed and breakfast that's a little bit further out by McFarland Park that we've considered, partly because they probably would permit both indoor and outdoor mess, is the thought. And then there's some advantage to maybe doing it downtown as well, but that would take a lot more in terms of getting permission to do something that's in downtown, but might draw in more people.
Just considering that you're not sure about location, how did you estimate your venue rental? Because to me, that maybe seems low for $500, but I don't know for sure.
So that is a round figure. I do think that we have the ability to absorb some more in terms of the contribution from ICA itself. But I've recently booked Alluvial for another event, and it was certainly not a lot more than $500. Of course, that wouldn't include any food or drinks or anything. What else was I going to say about the budget? The way that it's structured is that the amount we anticipate getting from registration fees for runners and then tickets for attendees, that's very well matched to the variable costs. So if it's larger than we think or smaller than we think, it's not going to break the budget.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions? I think we're good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And then the Ames Riders Collective.
Hi, I'm Jenny Brockpoller. I spoke earlier out of turn as the Arts Council, but I'm here today as the vice president of the Ames Writers Collective. So a different hat. And what we are hoping to do is partner with Stevens Auditorium to work with the Langston Hughes project. They are bringing the performance to Stevens, and one of the opportunities that offers is we can work with local student poets. And the project, I can't think of the man's name, sorry, Dr. McCurdy will work with students to write poems and then down select poems, and Dr. McCurdy will set some of them to music, and that will be featured as a part of the evening performance. So we'd spend a month working with students to write, and then hopefully they'd be featured on the performance. It's really, that's the whole story. Does anybody have questions that I can try to answer?
Sorry. Just what age group are you defining students? Like what?
Let's see, what did she say? I don't know that she said.
I was just wondering more if you're talking like K-12 or.
K-12.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes, K-12.
Thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to
I
interrupt.
just was making sure so the event itself that Stevens is doing is you're almost piggybacking off of that.
Correct. One of the, when
Okay.
they booked the larger event, one of the things you could choose to do was work with local student poets, and it's an add-on to the larger performance. So they're paying for the evening show. We're adding this cool piece to the evening show.
Okay.
It's just one of the things you could pick from when you booked it.
Okay.
And is the instruction or the organization with the students, that's done by Ames Writers Collective?
Correct. We would
Not-
take the
not
lead on
them.
that. Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
What other questions do you have?
Sounds good.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that is all for our spring 2024. It says 2023 on our agenda, but 2024 special project grant hearings. And so just so you know, Krista, in the email, there should have been there was an Excel document that between now and our next meeting, we'll each take time to kind of think about the hearings today and review the applications, and we'll all individually make our own recommendations. Using that Excel sheet, once you've done that, just email it to Brian and Jeremy, and then they will compile all of our recommendations for our next meeting. So yeah, if you review, so then you'll just fill in there. And just to be clear on that, the money that we do have available for spring projects is $4,318. And of the 6 requests we got tonight, we were asked for $11,515. So in the past, we have had a little bit more money for these special projects, but this year we did not. So when you're totaling your recommendations, you can't go above that 4,318 amount. Any other things on that Nope. And then is there a specific time you want them, Brian?
Let's see. Do you think we could get them done by maybe next Friday?
I think that sounds
Yeah.
good. That's the same date as the grant applications do. So it's already
Yeah.
like
And
October
And by the
13th.
13th.
and
So
then,
to Brian and Jeremy by October 13th.
yep, that gives us plenty of time to
All right.
incorporate it into the agenda packet for the next meeting.
Great.
And the next one, it's not all set in stone. We'll kind of discuss as
Yeah.
in past. We'll just, you won't have to defend necessarily why you gave it, but
Be ready.
we'll end up looking at the average. And if we, want to adjust things, we can.
Sometimes there's a broad spread and we try and
Yeah.
hash that out.
And that's primarily in addition to the annual grant hearings. That'll be the content of the next meeting, is to make that final recommendation for those. Okay, so upcoming important dates, as we've already mentioned a couple times today, the 2024-25 annual grant applications are due October 13th, electronically or to the city manager's office. And then our next meeting will be right here November 6th at 5. And so again, if you are submitting an annual grant application, you need to sign up for a hearing time for the November 6th meeting. And that's all. You do that again by contacting the city manager's office. Any other things for welcome to Krista, new Commission on the Arts board member? Any other things? All right, the meeting's adjourned.